Welcome back, Rad Dads. Thank you so much for joining me yet again today. This is Walter Eggers here, and I am going to absolutely keep it real for you here today. We go back and forth on these microsodes, these Thursday episodes, and I really would love to hear some feedback on that. In the past, I've brought some examples and maybe some contextual stuff, like Heraclitus is actually one of my favorite episodes because I got to be a little philosophical and bring some facts and maybe some historical stuff to the table. We get to all learn through that process. Haley, where I brought you a learning example of something that I experienced firsthand. I want to know what you think about this. So let me know what you think. Drop me an email at walter@weraddads.com. This episode is sponsored by Audible. That's right, Audible. It's an audiobook service, and they've got thousands of titles, all right? So go by the website and click on any of the audio banners to get your free 30-day trial and a free book. I mean, free on top of free. You just can't beat that value, right? Pick up any type of storyline you want, fiction, nonfiction, history, anything for free 99. That's right, nothing, zero, zilch. Go over to audibletrial.com/weraddads for your free 30-day trial and free book. You want value? There it is. One more thing I'm going to ask you here, and then we'll get into the episode, is to share this with a friend. Forward it to them, text it to them, email it to them, tell them about it. If you find any value in this program whatsoever, I would appreciate you telling another friend about it. I sincerely appreciate that you would take the time to personally introduce this program to other people. Value and wisdom are great, but if it's not shared, it's nearly useless. All right, let's dive in. Hello and welcome back, Rad Dads. Today's episode is definitely going to be a little bit different. You know that I like to keep it up, and I like to have a positive attitude as much as possible. But recently, I've been struggling with some things of my own, and I love to have the positivity and everything, but I feel I need to take this moment and just get this off my chest. I think it's really important to be as real as possible with yourself and your children, because you can be the patriarchal, manly man, and you can deny all the negativity in your life and turn a blind eye to it. But eventually, I think as we all know now, it will catch up to you at some point, and it will come back around, and ignoring it only makes it worse. Now, a little backstory here, and as much as I talk about staying up and being positive and controlling your emotions, I think we all struggle with doing just that. I had an occurrence this weekend where that was the case. And it never starts and ends with the simple situation at hand. It usually manifests days, weeks, months in advance. Things snowball and, I wasn't able to handle those situations appropriately, and now I find myself in a tight spot, so to speak. I'll be straight with you guys. It's financial. Nothing gets us men more up at arms than having a financially stressful situation. It challenges us on a level that we're absolutely uncomfortable with. It implies that we're no good as a provider, or we're ineffective. I'd say to some degree that is accurate, but overall, I don't think that it defines you as a person. To have a weak moment or to fall through on an expectation of providing. Sometimes I'm going to have to do without, and I've done without a lot. I've actually stripped my life down to the absolute basics, and I'll bet you're the same. I've struggled through my time as a single parent. I want to take this time in this episode to let you know some of my former struggles and some of my current struggles. As a man, I think it's very difficult to deal with the world if it doesn't work out the way you had planned. I look at other people, and as much as I shouldn't compare myself to others, I still do. I think that's a pretty common issue. I wouldn't call it a problem. I'll say it's an issue. Now, I think we all compare ourselves to others, and sad as it is true, I know that that's a problem. I know it's something that I shouldn't do, but I do it anyway. I look at person X and see that they have, the white picket fence and the house and the family, the marriage, all those things that I really want. I mean, let's be honest. But that's not where I'm at. I've really had a tough time in accepting this. Sometimes I do pretty well, and I focus on the positives as much as possible. But there are moments when it really gets to me, and I look around and I see that people have these happy lives. And one thing I think I really want to point out here is that just because of what you perceive doesn't necessarily mean that that is the actual truth in the situation. It's a lot like people's social media profiles. They're not going to advertise the negativity. They're not going to advertise the hard times, the financial troubles, the arguments, the anguish. Nobody recognizes that. But the reality is that everyone experiences that. I'd say that as single parents, we're easily influenced because I feel that I'm at a disadvantage. I worry about whether or not I'm going to find a relationship where I can feel normal. I worry about if I did find that relationship, would it end in the same way? Those things lead me to be very cynical about that situation. And if it were to ever occur again, I really want to make sure that I handle it appropriately. I don't know how to adjust myself for that, but I'm trying. That brings up an excellent point. I'm in the trenches right here with everybody else. I'm a single dad. And I'm a guy behind the microphone, but I'm a guy, just like the rest of you single dads out there, trying to do the best with what I know. Trying to gather all the information I can to help everyone else out there deal with their situation. And every situation is different. Every person is different, just like every child is different. We've all heard that, right? Now, I'm sorry if this episode isn't as upbeat and entertaining and doesn't really house a element of humor. However, I feel this is something right now with me that I need to really talk about. So what ended up happening this weekend is I lost my temper. And I'm in the trenches here right with you all. I wanted to really showcase that I'm a person just like you guys, and things don't always go my way. Obviously, right? Everything that I had planned in my life didn't work out. And how it occurred, as I talk about it now, seems ridiculous. Because as I described this one event to myself, I just can't fathom how I could have reacted this way. Now, all this financial pressure and strain on myself had built up to this point. And what occurred is my son pulled the rearview mirror off the windshield of my truck. That was after a long list of other things that, kids do. Kids are just curious and they're into everything, and I really love them for it. The problem here is that I'm mad at myself. And you may or may not hear the emotion in my voice, but I'm really upset with myself. I think the best foot forward here is to forgive my son, but more importantly is to forgive myself. I can reattach the mirror. That's not a problem. Yes, it presents much more work for me and a little bit of a financial burden, which, is part of the problem. I know he's just curious, and I did scold him for pulling the mirror off, but honestly, he's too young to understand what had happened. And if you drive an old truck like me, you understand that sometimes those mirrors just fall off as well. So here I am days later recording this, and I feel just as bad now as I did then. Why is that? I think there's a simple answer here, and I want to say it comes down to shame and guilt. I'm not mad about the mirror. I knew that I'd be able to fix it. I'm not mad that my son is curious. I'm not upset at him for placing us in some sort of predicament. The reality is, the common denominator here is me. I need to take responsibility for these things. I need to challenge myself in handling these situations appropriately. I need to find a way out of this financial boondoggle that I find myself in. It's not like I have gambling debt or go to the store and buy a carton of cigarettes and a case of beer. I'm alcohol and smoke free, by the way. I don't have any expensive vices, and I live pretty frugally. The reality of the situation is very simply, I have to find a way forward. And in order to do that, I need to deal with who and where I am now, accept it, forgive myself for it, and move forward. Now, nothing is going to keep me from feeling bad about the events of that afternoon. And although it was momentary, it still really affects me. Because that's everything I don't want to be anymore. I'm going to have to let it go. I'm going to process it. I think there's the lesson here, and it comes down to patience, self-awareness, forgiveness, and continuing to put your best foot forward. What I find therapeutic, actually, is I write these things down in a journal that I don't really intend on sharing with anyone. And when I say write, of course I mean type, because, well, I can type way faster than that. But I find that if I get them off my chest, it actually helps a lot. And I want to challenge you to do the same. I hope you're winning your personal battles. We all know those are the toughest. I want to be there to help you as much as possible. So I'd really appreciate if you were to reach out and let me know what you're dealing with and how you're handling it. If you feel so inclined, send me an email. There are many ways to process your emotions, and I think writing's a really good one. Granted, it does take time, But maybe we can give up on the Sports Center for 20 minutes to make that happen. Listen, Dad, I know you're doing the best you can. I think you're doing a great job. Keep it up. We've got your back here, okay? I sincerely hope you got some value out of this. You know, I like to provide value in any way I possibly can, and I think part of that is community. Please join our tribe, our community on Facebook. The We Rad Dads group page is a place for us. Just for us. The single parents with these type of struggles. I'm there for you, and if you want to reach out to just me, email me at walter@weraddads.com. I sincerely appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me. And don't forget about audibletrial.com/weraddads. Your support is instrumental in keeping the podcast going. And I'll say this to myself as I say it to you. Stay up, stay connected, and stay rad, dads.